This is the craziest chess game ever. I appreciate Paul Morphy because I do not think any other player has ever done this before or has even tried to replicate what Paul Morphy did in this game. The game that has got our attention was played between Paul Morphy and his uncle, who was a decent player. But if compared to Morphy, was not as good, just like many players during his time. To make the match a fair one, just like many opponents Paul Morphy played against, because he was far better than them. He gave his uncle 5-point material advantage by starting the game without a rook. On the surface, this looks like a good bargain, but what his uncle did not know is that this was the first step to what would later turn out to be the most vicious move in chess. In fact, without this material advantage, this would not have been possible, and I will explain the reason for this at the end of the video. The game started with e4, and after some developing moves, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, we get to the gate of an opening which is similar to the Italian opening in chess. Black plays knight to f6, and Morphy continues to oil the wheels of the game with knight to g5, putting pressure on the f7 pawn. Alonso, his uncle, responded with d5, and after the exchange of pawns, the game steered towards the fried liver attack, one of the deadliest attacks in chess if you do not know how to handle it. The game proceeds with Paul Morphy sacrificing his knight on f7, and after the king recaptures, we get queen to f3 check, a move that also attacks the knight concurrently. At this point, Black finds a move that is pretty scary, but actually keeps them in the game. The move is placing the king in the center of the board, king to e6. Seeing the king is in the center, Paul Morphy starts to salivate and quickly develops his knight to put pressure on d5 because the knight is pinned. Surprisingly, in this position, Paul Morphy's uncle plays a move that hints he has probably been sneaking to check Paul Morphy's check hacks. He ignores the attack on his knight by playing knight to d4, countering by attacking Paul Morphy's queen. Paul Morphy responded by capturing the knight with a check, and after the king moves out of the check, we get to this position on the board. The crazy thing about this position is that white is completely losing, but we cannot blame black for failing to capitalize on their advantage because, looking at the board, nothing actually gives it away that this position is good for black. And also, the opponent is Morphy, who is an ultra-aggressive player used to positions like this. You know the popular proverb that goes, use one stone to kill two birds. Well, that does not apply to Morphy. Paul Morphy would kill a bird with countless stones because his arsenal was just too deep. So, capitalizing on black's king in the center, Paul Morphy ended the game in the most beautiful way possible that sometimes I wish I could freeze time for me to be able to admire this game forever. The king hunt begins with queen to f7, hindering black's king from entering his territory. This move also threatens knight to e4 checkmate. So, to take the sting out of this checkmate attack, we get bishop to e6 by Alonso, Paul Morphy's uncle. This move on the board attacks the queen and also stops checkmate threats because the bishop is no longer protected. If knight to e4 occurs now, the king will escape by capturing the bishop. In response to this, Paul Morphy takes life out of the bishop and then gives a check on e4, leaving the black king with no other option than to move to the heart of the board. In his next move, Paul Morphy gave up his knight, but it was only for some time as he recaptures his immediately after. The game continues with queen to d4. Then we get queen to g4 by Paul Morphy, checking the king. The king's move to d3 to evade the check. The king, as you can see, is being escorted farther out of his territory, deep into his opponent's half of the board. After queen to e2, another check, Alonso moves his king to c2. We get a discovered check on the king when Paul Morphy pushes the pawn on d2. The king, left with no other option, had to capture the bishop, and the game ends with Paul Morphy castling, checkmating the king in the most unique and rarest ways possible. Now, I said earlier in the game, the reason this game ended this way was because Paul Morphy had started the game without his rook. If his rook had been in this game, we wouldn't have a checkmate with castling, because the rook in the corner would have stopped Black's king from capturing the bishop, and it would have been checkmate at this point when Paul Morphy's queen checked the king by moving the pawn up. Before we go further, I have something very important to share. This morning, I got a notification from YouTube that my channel is 1 year old. I have to confess, when I uploaded my first video on this channel last year, I never imagined I would have this many subscribers. Close to 900 subscribers, never. I thought one had to be a celebrity to have these many numbers. As if this isn't enough, having a YouTube channel with over 100,000 views in a period of a year to my name was something I never thought I could achieve. For this reason, I want to say a very big thank you to everyone for your views, comments, likes, and even dislikes. I'm immensely grateful. I also like to make it clear that one of my goals for this channel right now is to get to 1,000 subscribers. But I don't even know how to ask because you have done so much for me and I don't want to sound selfish. So I thought it would be great for us to make a deal. If you subscribe to my channel, to get me to 1K, I will do everything in my power to make my content better, more valuable, and more insightful. I promise you, it is a deal you will never, ever regret. So please, thank you as you subscribe. Let's get right back into the video. Oh, sorry guys. That's actually the end of the video. Please do subscribe. But I have one more video for you. This one stands out because there was actually a time in chess when there was a secret that was hidden for over 100 years. What makes this story ridiculous is that even the person that created the secrets died without revealing this secret. We almost did not get to know the behind the scenes of the secrets. We almost actually lost this secret. Click on the thumbnail on your screen to catch me over there as I tell the story. Please don't miss it. Bye.